This is a dessert that I love. It's called mhencha. It's a North African, Moroccan dessert. Basically, it's named after the way it looks. It's the serpent, the snake, so it's coiled up. So let's get started. The first thing I'm adding in there, instead of adding white sugar, I'm adding panela sugar. Now, I like this because it's more caramelly. I'm just gonna add some of that to the food processor. And white chocolate. Now, I like white chocolate because it's got a fatty base, but it takes on flavor really well. And we're gonna need this here to add a little bit of creaminess and lushness to the dish. And I'm also adding about a tablespoon of ground ginger. And for those of you who haven't used halva before, it comes in lots of different flavors. This is I suppose, the traditional sesame flavored, really tasty. When you first look at it, it's quite almost chalky and dry, but as you start to eat it, it softens up and just tastes like roasted tahini. It's so, so beautiful. This is gonna help me bring a whole new level to the mhencha that I'm making. Now, a quick buzz. I'm just gonna pulse that. So it breaks up all the chocolate. But I still want a little bit of chunkiness in there. I want some chunkiness from the halva, and I want a bit of chunkiness from the chocolate as well, because I want those bits to melt inside the pastry and become little pockets of gooiness. That looks about right. Simple mixing now. Look at that, beautiful. Lots of flavor in there. But as soon as you start adding some nuts, and what we have here is almonds that have been blanched and then pureed, it's gonna add texture. Okay, so I just wanna mix that through fairly well. I mean, I'm not too fussed if there's some chunks of, almonds that haven't been coated through. I like those bits. Little surprises on the way through. But to really bring it to life, I'm gonna add some floral notes with my good friend Rosewater. Now, be careful. It can become quite overpowering. And there is gonna be some of this as well in our sugar syrup, which we brush over the top later. So I don't need there to be too much in there now. One last thing is some melted butter. And this is just gonna help bring it all together. Now, if you've got time, you can put that in the fridge for 20 or 30 minutes for it to set a little bit, so it's easier to handle. But to be honest, you can go with it straight away. And I'm starting to get a bit peckish, so I wouldn't mind getting this in the oven. Time for the fun bit, to bring it all together. So, some filo pastry. Now, with filo pastry, it's important that you move quickly and that you keep it moist. If you leave it out at room temperature, especially in a warm room, it can dry out really quickly. And that's not what we're after. We want beautiful filo pastry like this, where it's really soft, but it's not breaking up. So mhencha is a long coil. So you want to make sure you've got enough pastry for your long coils. So I'm just going to brush underneath each layer. Now, I don't need too much butter on this because I'm actually going to fold it. So every layer is going to be doubled up. So all we're trying to do is moisten it. So when you bake it, it becomes nice and crispy. And also, so it sticks together when we coil it up. Now, in Morocco, when you see this being made, it's on a huge bench and they line up heaps of pastry and start curling it up and ends up with this big sort of round, almost, spirally baklava looking thing. But today, we're just going to do a simpler version. Time to start laying our filling. Now, I'm just going to loosely, and I mean pretty loosely, lay the filling. And the reason I want it to be loose, I don't want it to be a big solid line of filling, is because as it starts to roll, that's going to compress. And as it compresses, it's going to start breaking. It's going to break the pastry. So there's a fine line, and don't be upset that if you make your first one and it bursts out everywhere. I mean, it's one of those things that you want to make a few times to get it right. We're going to slowly start lifting and folding over, just to really encase everything that's in there. A bit more butter because it's starting to dry, and I really want to keep it moist. Keep curling, let it do its thing, keeping it loose, not rolling it tight. So now I'm going to start coiling it up. So just very loosely bring it together. And the first bit can be a bit ugly. If it feels like it's starting to break, take it a little bit easier. So all I'm going to do now is cut off this last bit of pastry. I'm going to tuck it underneath, make sure it's sealed, put that aside, because I'm going to coil another snake now and wrap it around so it's a really big mhencha. So when you slice it, you get a nice piece in the middle. Now, that's looking a little bit more impressive. All right, I'm going to give that a last hit of butter, just to make sure it's all sealed.
If you've got time, it's a good idea to put it in the fridge and let it set. And then it's into a preheated oven, 180 degrees, for about 25 minutes or until golden brown and crispy.
Okay, the exciting part, time to see if the mhencha's cooked. All right, it's looking pretty good. But as you can see, it's come really crispy. I mean, we've had a little bit of a blowout in there, but that's fine. It's still within the coil, but it looks great. I mean, this is a really festive dessert that once you put it on the table, I mean, people just are oohing and ahhing. It's a really, really, really nice dessert. Now, just gently sliding it off. So the last little sugary hit that I'm gonna add to this is I've made a sugar syrup. Now, this is pretty standard, 1 part sugar, 1 part water, and I've added about 20 mils of rose water just to really sort of bring up that perfume, which I think is beautiful through this. I mean, remember, you've got white chocolate, you've got the halva, you've got the ginger in there, the almonds, so many beautiful flavors. A little bit of rose water at the end is gonna bring it to life. So just brush that on, and it sucks it up straight away. And just to finish it off, got some really nice rose petals here. Sprinkle those across the top. These are really beautiful, got a lovely perfume. So that's our mhencha, but to really bring it to life, it's time to get some of that ice cream. So I reckon that'll be frozen by now. Now, if we serve that ice cream straight on the top, you're gonna end up with a melted mess. So I think the best way to serve it will be on the side. So I've got some little glasses that have been frosted so it doesn't melt straight away. And look at the ice cream. Put that in my little glasses, pack it in. The cold glasses are really nice. They're keeping it nice and cool. You've got that warm pastry that's just come out of the oven. A nice slice of that, big scoop of ice cream, and you've got happy days.